All right, welcome. We're going to just do a little video training for you guys for this year since we were unable to meet with all of you. So welcome, and we're going to just go over a few things. Just to recap, last year, we're really grateful for how it all worked out. I think everybody did an awesome job. We all, as a leadership team, agree that it was just for all that we were up against, we really were able to come together as a community and everybody pitched in and it really worked out well. And so this year we're looking forward to our first full year. Hopefully there's no kinks in that. And so we will obviously still be at Trinity and just looking forward to some consistency for these kids. In terms of our leadership structure, so Jamie Murdoch has slipped into the junior high liaison position. So instead of kind of running the morning time, that's going to be more of Katie's job, and Jamie's going to be helping with Vanessa, our new junior high teacher, and just kind of helping with all of that. So she will be doing that. Michelle's going to be focusing on the high school stuff and making sure the kids are where they need to be with the teachers and everything. And then Katie and I will be there in the mornings to greet everybody and run stuff. In terms of expectations and guidelines, basically we just wanted to go over a few things. So these are best practices. We really feel like everything went super smoothly last year. We just want to remind everybody so we're all on the same page. So the first thing we would love to talk about is the playground. The playground is just Trinity has asked that we always have a parent on site. So if that's in the morning time or even during lunch, that somebody's always there. So we're going to stay in the gated area in the morning, right behind the classrooms. And there should be a parent there helping, and as part of the history and science assistant role, and we'll go over that later, you should come early so that you can help watch all the kids in the morning while teachers are setting up. And then at lunchtime from about 12 to 12:15, we're going to eat lunch, maybe even a little bit later. Make sure the kids are getting all the food that they need in that gated playground area, and then we will be walking over to the large open field where the high school students will help run some games. So in that time though, we want to make sure that the parents are with their students. So in order for my kids to go over to the other field, I either need to give them permission to go with a specific adult and make sure the adult knows, or I need to walk them over there myself. I think that is it on the playground. Oh, and just make sure kids aren't up on top of the play structure. That was kind of an issue a couple times because we have some little monkeys who like to climb. So let's just make sure we're keeping everybody safe in that. Okay, our wellness policy. Basically, if anybody in your family has had the fever within 24 hours or is actively throwing up, nausea, vomiting, anything like that, we would really prefer, we have a couple families that have some immune compromised people, and we just prefer that you stay home. If you have questions about it, you can contact Jamie, and this will just make sure that we stay healthy. Last year, the awesome thing is we really didn't have sickness run through our community, and I think a lot of that is because when we had sick kids, we just kept them home. So yes, that is our wellness policy. If you have questions about that, it's on our website. We're going to really be pushing people to our website because all of the information is there, and we'd love you to use that resource. If you have questions, though, day of, make sure you ask Jamie. Regarding if you are teaching, if you're in a teaching role, we would prefer that you have all your notes prepared ahead of time enough that you can call somebody and pass it off. Ideally, you would call somebody yourself and handle that. And then in the off chance that that does not work, if you could call Jamie, I guess call Jamie either way, but if you could handle it and then tell Jamie what's going to happen, that would also ideally be a swap. So if you could teach this for me, I'll teach the other thing for you. And hopefully everybody stays healthy so we won't have to deal with that. I think that is all. Oh, and we did have we wanted to just run through real quick. You know, we're living in community, and that is ideal, and God has called us to that. So if there is an issue with somebody or that you run into, we would just love if you could handle it with that person individually first. We don't want a community where there's gossip and kind of extra talking. We just prefer that you guys handle it. If that doesn't work, if you could contact Jamie, and in all things, we'd love you to consider praying about it first, and really try to pursue the health of that relationship before you go to other people. Go to God first. And we all have practiced that at home as well. So it should come naturally. The website, I think Michelle is going to make a video about this, but we would really love everybody to be able to go to the website for all their needs. We're going to have assignments, we're going to have kid classes, resources, videos. If there's, like in the classroom setting, if there's videos to link, we'll put them all up there. There is, anytime we have potluck, and all of that will be on the website. There's a news feed that we'll put stuff on, a registry with everybody's name, family members' names, and addresses and phone numbers. So we're just going to be pushing you guys all to the website for all of that information, because it's all right there. Sometimes there's login issues. If you have a login issue, don't feel bad. I'm like the chief login problem. Just text Jamie or Katie, and they can reset your passwords quickly, and then you can have access to that. A lot of times I save it on my phone, and then I can just like pop back open, and it automatically logs me in. So that is a great resource, and we're so grateful that Katie's husband Darren was able, that's what he does. So he gifted us a website, and it's an amazing resource. Okay, I think that is everything for our little intro. So we'll be back for the next video with some specific stuff. Okay, welcome back. We are going to do a little information on memory work to start. So basically, everybody again did a great job. These are just best practices that we want to go over just to give you a great reminder of how memory work is done ideally in a perfect world. So the first thing would be that we want to visually represent the memory work. So I just wrote this. This is a good example of a visual representation. All the words are written. Maybe I have this is Latin, so I have something like this to the side. I have math here. We want to make sure that it's up on the board. I also printed in the memory work bin that we can switch out for the first 6 weeks. All the number 2 times 1 is 2 and all that kind of stuff. So we want to see it on the board nice and big. If you type it, just make sure it's big enough so that the kids can sit. With 10 kids, they're a little bit further back, so we want to make sure they can really see the words. That's pretty easy. Okay, repetition is key. We encourage each subject to be repeated 7 times. This can be hard with some of the longer sentences like math, where you're saying 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, but everything else should be repeated 7 times. So what that might look like is, hey, today we're going to learn our continents and oceans. The first one is North America. Say North America, that's 1. South America, that's 2. And then, okay, point to North America. All right, erase it or color it in. So every time you're interacting with them about that, whatever that piece of memory work is, that's 1 time. So if I introduce the history sentence, okay, tell me about the Victorian era. During Queen Victoria's reign, and I say it, that's 1 time. They say it back, that's 2 times. So the music, that would be 3 times. So just know that as you introduce it, that can count as 1 time. These kids pick it up by hearing it, by seeing it, by saying it. So the more ways that we engage those senses, the better. I guess one thing I should say is this is how I prepare. I make a photocopy of the book and I just write my notes on this, and then I usually take this to the classroom. I prefer just writing it so that I don't have to haul boards and everything with me, but do it however you want. Typing it's okay. And then I just have everything and I haven't miswritten anything. It's just all right here for me. So in terms of music, you are in charge of your own music. I have it on my phone. It's a little bit of a process, but I'm just for my kids and reviewing, I make each week like a playlist where it's each subject, and then I bring that with me to the class and I have a little speaker and I just blast the music. We do have a CD player available, so if you don't have that technology, then feel free when you're ordering the music to order a CD version, and there's a CD player available at Trinity, so you can always do that. We just want to encourage everybody, if it takes a ton of explanation, don't worry about it. Do something else that's simple. These kids are totally happy with erasing a word or clapping their hands and saying the stuff. You don't have to have an elaborate dress-up play that takes a lot of time. Each subject has only about 4 minutes to say it 7 times. So practice it at home and make sure that it's fast and on pace. And simple is better. Nothing has to be too complicated. I always like to start with, I'm going to say a word, and then you repeat it after me just to introduce the information. So that's a good starting point. Make sure that we're enunciating with all of our stuff. You know, colonized is a good example. I'm looking right here. Colonized. Say that word, colonized. Like the Latin would be another really big one, is we don't want to play the music the first time, really ever, but especially with Latin, we want them to hear it say amo, like oh, say oh, amo, amas. Do you hear this at the end? Amas. So that they're really getting the enunciation of these words, because there's a lot of big words, especially like the names of some of these history sentences. The little kids especially will have trouble saying them. So help them to get those words right the first time. Especially the timeline is another big one. Not that you have to do that, but they always mix that up. Okay, not every kid has to do every job. So if we're going around and you're doing like everybody puts on a hat and then they get to be that part in the history sentence. Not every kid's gonna have every job. It's okay to go, nope, sorry, you get to do the next thing. I also just choose. I don't say, who wants to be? You know, that can take 5 minutes just to pick who is what role. So, Jed, you're this. Come up here. This is your hat. You're this. Come up. And I just give them the role. That saves so much time. Have them stand up, put the stuff on. I'm aware of who's gone a bunch, who needs to have another chance, and I just rotate through. The more you're in charge of all that, the faster it'll go and the more expedited everything will be. This is just a word to the wise. Keep an eye out for the kid who either is dominant and really takes over, not in a bad sense, but they're so excited about this memory work. They just know where all the places are in the map and they're gonna grab that pen and just do it all. Versus the kid who's the quiet kid who's been thinking about it, and maybe it just takes a little bit longer for them to get it all down. Make sure you're giving each of those kids opportunities as you're presenting the work, because we definitely have both types of awesome kids. So it's good to get everybody involved. All right, I'm gonna go through, let's look at the bag real quick. So this is the bag that you get with memory work. There are erasers. There's a little bouncy ball. This is a fly swat. They could slap things. There's bean bags to toss. This year, I put a subject roller dice thing, an erasable one, a couple erasable ones. This year, I've also added This is subject sticks to pull out. You may want to bring a cup or something. These are workout items. Do planks, squats, push-ups, jumping jacks. And then this is funny voices like walkie-talkie or like a, plug your nose, like a mouse. So these are really easy. Just pull a stick. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Let's see. There's dry erase pens. There's board eraser. Each bin has Band-Aids. That's always a good one. And this will come to you on the morning. I will, myself or Katie or Jamie will bring it that morning and we will teach you or drop it off to you to have to set up. So that is what's in the bin. And if you have questions about what's in the bin, the website has the list. So you can go into resources and you can search even bag items or something like that. So, all right, subject specific. For math, or let's do history. There's no need for extra information. If it's about Queen Victoria, you do not need to give any background information. Maybe a picture is simple and easy, but there is no need to give an explanation. They're going to get all of that in history. Ideas that I like to use are stuff like erase words. You write the whole sentence, then you erase the dates, then you erase the noun or the subject, and you keep going from there, and they have to fill in the blanks as they say it. Simple acting out. If I bring props, it's going to be a hat or one item that I can just hand to a kid and give them. I don't bring a ton of huge stuff that makes it overly complicated to hand out. I love visual printouts. I'm teaching week 1. So this is a sentence broken up into 4 things. It helps them have a visual cue. I'll have them unscramble it or something along those lines where they can just see the words written out and a cute little picture, and it's nice and simple. Or I always like writing words and putting them in order. That sometimes works better for science or one-word things that you can put in order, but this works too. All right. Okay, for math, I have a couple things to show you. I do have this as an option. So what this is you put, say if it's a number 2, and then you say 2 times 1, and they can write 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So it's like a clock, and it goes around, and you can just write the number around it. So I'll say, write it the first time as I say it. Then you're going to point to it the next time. Then you're going to erase it the next time, and then you're going to write it. And sometimes that's too many. For the older 2 groups, so the yellow group and the green group, they have to say the whole sentence. And the value of this is I have 2 kids who could sing all the skip counting songs, but could not tell me their math facts because they just sang the songs. So they'd have to sing the song. So it's super valuable to get them saying 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So that in their head they can go 2 times 8 is 16, and they just know it. So there is value in it. So you'll also have these. If you want to borrow this for the little kids, the big number chart, that's fine too. Ideas are number chart, dry erase clock. Sometimes I have them, jump up and down or do some of the exercise stuff too. The music is great for the little kids and skip counting. All right, for Latin, again, I'm just going to re-emphasize, make sure that you present the information really pronunciated, so pronounced, however you want to say that. It's very important. Listen to the music. If you don't know, we have a lot of moms with older kids who know Latin and can help you with the pronunciation, but it's really important that they hear the endings. I always love to visually represent it. To me, if I can find something like a moose, looks like a moose. So amant, ant. That one's a little, but tis. So these are just great little visual cues that can help them. And make sure you're hearing it. You can practice just the ending. I like hopscotch or hop over something, dice, movement. You could print out something like this for each kid, and so that they could really see it, and moving forward with all of that. So I think that's it for Latin. Just don't play the song the first time they hear that information. You need to say it and say it clearly. All right, geography. This year we just ordered these flip books from Claritas. They are really nice because they come with both the blank and the word copy, each one. So with geography, make sure that you're using the show me, tell me. So an example of that would be, show me, where is North America? And they would point. Or you could say, tell me, what is this? And they could say North America. So in a Memory Master setting, which we will also go over later, there's going to be both show me and tell me, and you want to get them used to being able to say it and point to it. So that's one little part of it. For this, a lot of kids will just take it, if you're doing only dry erase, like the little red group, they just scribble. It just doesn't work in my mind. You might have figured out a way, but sometimes I'll get like a little cute, I have these wooden little dolls, or you could get a little rock for each of them, and they could take it on a journey from North America to South America and kind of move it as they go. Or if you start with it circled, then they could erase it with their finger. Or in any group, if you're going to use dry erase, which is great, just be specific. I want 1 dot on North America, 1 dot on South America. Draw a smiley face on North America. Outline North America versus, where is North America? And then they're scribbling the whole paper. This is where moms, if you're sitting in the background, we would love your involvement. You get in there, help these kids find the locations. It's super important because that tutor can't get to 10 kids in a timely manner to get the repetition that they need. So make sure they're finding the right spot. It's okay with the little kids. Use the ones with the words, okay? Or even the bigger kids, the first time you're announcing it, okay, we're gonna see the words on this. South America, write an S and an A. Good, okay, now flip it over. We're gonna try it with the blanks. So that's just an option. All right, for science. So again, no need for explanations. We just want the words and the memorization of the words. So sometimes a great thing is just a picture of a scientist, like, oh, he's the guy with the crazy hair or whatever. And then they can see it, but no explanations. I love for science 3x5 card unscramble. I often do that. This year on the first week, I have these awesome test tubes that we used last year. And for the scientific method, they're just gonna have to put it in order. And then I'm gonna have 2 teams, and both teams are gonna have to put it in order. So I love putting in order stuff. You know, the or 3x5 cards where they're having to put it in order, or you can borrow those or whatever. Erase words is another good one. Hopscotch, getting those kids moving, not just sitting the whole time, but jumping up and down, burning some energy. If they're acting up, just drop everything and make them do push-ups while you say it. If they're like busy, that, you know, that green group can be a little busy. Pull sticks, funny voices, all of those things work for memory work. Scripture and timeline are both going to be done in the morning, but you can review them in the review time. So you don't have to reintroduce the words. We want everything, all 7 subjects or 6 subjects without timeline, to be done in 30 minutes. And then the last 10 minutes, we're going to do a review time. So the review, make this a priority. These kids need to know that their friends are learning the work, and it's going to challenge them all to want to practice and have this stuff down so that they can be competitive with their friends. A little healthy competition is really good. I know it's always been good for my kids, and that's one thing that is lacking. So please prioritize 10 minutes of review time. Practice at home to get it down enough to where you have those last 10 minutes. Consider it like a different class so that you're really working to get it done. Ideas for review that don't require explanation. Remember, in CC, review is 30 minutes. This is 10 minutes. So we want a big bang for our buck. 4 corners. Get everybody spread out. Everybody mostly knows what 4 corners is. And then, boom, they already know that game. You could do 2 stations. That's another idea. If you have a simple game, you want your helper mom, your color group mom, and you to both run. If you can explain it quickly and get them going, then that's awesome. Like pick up sticks or games like that, or Jenga. If you have, or borrow one from a friend, 2 groups of that. That way more kids get a turn. That's great. I also want to emphasize during review, it's not if you pick a corner and there's 1 kid, I want every other kid sitting there listening, because again, I always say we learn with our ears, with our eyes, with our mouth. We can hear and also learn. So the room should be quiet and everybody should be participating. If that student doesn't know it, let everybody join in and help. I think that makes it fun and everybody gets to practice. Often during memory work, because you're giving them freedom for a little bit of movement, sometimes there's a lot of movement that takes place. So just know that if you need help, your color group leader is there to help you. And we encourage you to get them involved. If somebody keeps talking out of turn, one of my favorite things to do is just bring them up. Okay, you're my helper. Can you point to this? And I get them involved. That sometimes calms them down a little bit, and then they sit down and they're a little bit, don't have as many fidgets. So if you need help though, feel free to send your color leader to get a mom or whatever you need to do. I think that is it for memory work. We will post everything I said. I have notes on all the ideas. We will post that on our website along with this video. Alrighty. Okay, welcome back. We're gonna do some history and some science teaching or training. So let's start with some history. Basically, during the history time, it'll be 40 minutes, and you are in charge of kind of just expanding on whatever history sentence Claritas has put up that week. So basically in that 40-minute time, you're gonna wanna do 20 minutes of teaching and 20 minutes of hands-on. Last year it was so cool watching what people did, but some of you are new. So some examples would be, we had maps laid out and people moved little Lego people around and, looked at battles, or how they moved on the spice trade was a couple years ago. People have done a full elaborate Russian tea and brought little snacks to taste, and we've done a game. Rebecca last year did Lewis and Clark, and they had to have all the right supplies and move the game board from place to place. And so you can get as creative as you want, keeping in mind that you're teaching different levels, so you can move the projects and change like the little arts and crafts that you do based on the different ages. So that's it went so well last year, so if you've seen it, great. If not, you can always ask for help. Make sure that we're writing the sentence on the board. That's always really a good visual to see the words. They're going to get it in memory work, but sometimes they haven't been to memory work yet. So let's make sure that we write the full sentence so that they can refer to it. I personally recommend and always like to see the time and place in history. So a map, where are we? Where is this event taking place? Who was involved? And where it is on the map, and then also in time. What else is going on? So if it's, World War II, what else is going on? What's happening in North America? What's happening in South America? What are people doing everywhere? How are people contributing? And just bring it all together. What does life look like in that time period? Maybe pictures of what the people wore, what their houses looked like, whatever that is, just so that they have a place and time period and can have an anchor on that. And one thing we're really trying to hit on as we move these kids to the next stage is something called the 5 common topics. And I have them, I don't know, they might be backwards for you, I'm not sure. But basically, you can look this up online and we'll try to find a video for you guys. But basically, we want to define terms. So we'll just say, what is gold? What is gold not? So we're talking about our last week history sentence, the gold rush. So what is the gold rush? What is it not? To what group does this belong to? So who was a part of this? Can we break it down into parts? Was there people coming in? Who was a part of it? Where were people traveling from? So just defining what it was. Comparing, how is it similar to a different time period, a different event that was similar or not similar to it? What circumstances led to this? Who discovered the gold? How did they get the news out? How was the information spread? What might have prevented the gold rush from happening? And then relationship. Determine the relationship between the terms. So did something cause something? What happened if this? And basically, we're asking really good questions. And then the last one is testimony. What do witnesses and experts say about the issue in order to lend support to an argument? So all of these things are kind of what we do in junior high and high school. But the idea of starting them asking good questions about any topic, and you can model that and we can even write this up on the board and define your terms and then discuss it in terms of those questions, because they will be getting more and more of this. So the more we can use that, the better. Sometimes to keep it simple, do who, what, when, where, why. Who was there? What was happening? Where was it happening? When was it happening? Why was it happening? And then comparing and contrasting, that always works really well. So that's a good note for history. We'd love them to have something to take home to remind them of it. A little project. I'm trying to think. Here, let me grab a few ideas of the projects. Just from last year, we made little hats. This was the Chinese, I forget what the sentence was last year. And those are just a couple examples. So something to take home is always great, and make sure it's not too much talking, but also hands-on. So that is history. Moving on to science. This year's science is going to look a little bit different. It's going to be super fun. We conquered chemistry, so we can do anything with physics. It's going to be so hands-on and great visuals. Thankfully, Katie's father-in-law, I'm sorry, has offered to teach. He's actually taking time off from doing something else that he was committed to help us teach this year. And so he's doing 8 whole weeks. It's going to be awesome to see him. He was a science teacher, and so he's going to have a lot of great things to teach these kids. We're using the book Elemental Science for Physics, the Logic Stage. So we are using Elemental Science, Physics, Logic Stage. This is going to be a book that we go from start to end, skipping a couple weeks, I think. But basically, we're working through the book because we realized that some of these topics build on each other. So we've taken what Claritas has done and this Elemental Science book, and basically Claritas is a little bit out of order, and so we're just working front to back in the book. So you may be teaching week 2, and really in elemental science is teaching about heat, and that's week 10 in Claritas. So make sure as you prepare, we're not just doing what's in the science sentence for that week, but we are doing what's in the Elemental Science book. If you would like to borrow that book, please ask either Katie or Jamie, and we will get you that book or get a little copy of that chapter. and we'll work through that. So you're going to be working off of the information in that order. It may be confusing. If you have questions, please ask, but it will make sense just as the kids build on their understanding of physics. It makes way more sense to do it in the order that the book has set forward. So again, with science, we want to make sure whatever information we're presenting, that we're defining the terms, we're putting it in time and place, and that we're making sure we're doing really hands-on. Physics is so great for demonstration and letting the kids jump in there and help. So about 20 minutes of talking about it, maybe asking them questions, and then the rest of the time would be awesome for demonstration or getting them involved more than demonstration. We really encourage you to see where they're at. These kids know a lot. It surprises me every time. And so don't just feel free not to just give the answers, but actually ask and try to pull it out of them and see where they're at. So I think that's it for history and science. It's going to be a great year. We're super excited. Know that there is a list online and it on our website, and it has the supplies available. But if there's something for either one that you want to use group funds for, we have a budget that can do that. So last year we ordered a bunch of beakers, or if you want to get a certain type of cardstock or watercolor paper, we can totally order that if you give us enough time and try to get that if it's just like a little bit expensive for what you're doing. So know that that is totally an option, but everything else, all the materials and everything else for that day, you will be responsible for. But some of the group materials we have always on hand are scissors and colored pencils and markers and that kind of stuff. The other thing is with both history and science, we will have an assistant in the room. So just a reminder that, especially we see this in history, if you have a project like this, which is adorable, have the first class prepped and then have your assistant cut out the rest of the stuff. Or I know this week, same thing. She had the first class prepped, and then I was the history assistant that week, and I spent the rest of the time cutting these and getting this part prepared, and even gluing stuff for the kids. But I was doing that while she was lecturing for the first 20 minutes. So come and have this stuff available for your assistant to do. You don't have to have it 100% ready the day before. So hopefully that answers your questions and is a good enough training. And yeah, we look forward to this year. It's going to be a great year. Okay, we're going to just talk real quick about presentations. The way the presentations go is if you're scheduled, you're going to be scheduled for 2 weeks in a row, and you're going to focus on the same trait that we're going to work on. So 1 week it might be audience skills. I think that's the very first one, is how to be a good audience member. We have a whole guide list on our website about things that you as a teacher should spend the first 5 minutes of class training the kids with. Sometimes it looks like at role playing, the first week you can give more of like the words, the advice, and then the next week you could role play. Okay, Jed, you're going to be a terrible audience member. Ooh, raising your hand, giving them horrible questions to ask. You can make it really fun by getting them involved in interacting and then discussing why. It should be about 5 minutes at the beginning of your group time where you're going over those presentation skills. Each week is labeled with what they are, and you can find them on the website what that skill is. And it's a really good outline. This year we're going to use presentation booklets. These are going to be for each kid. It's a way, kind of our desire was, how do we motivate these kids that this isn't boring, that there's incentives to stretching yourself and growing in your presentation skills. So we have come up with a checklist, a presentation skills checklist that they are going to be able to check off. The intention is that they come in and they say, okay, today I would like to check off my audience skills of taking good notes. So while each speaker is speaking, I'm going to take notes of what they're saying and what their presentation's about. And then they would go up to their teacher after and say, can you please check me off? Now, they are going to take home this presentation skill checklist booklet with the checklist and explanations of each item. And we are going to have a master copy that stays at school with each kid's name and each item so that we can check them off and that they can take it home, but we also will check it off on their booklet if they bring it. We just figured most kids wouldn't bring this each week. So for those of you who are new, presentations are every other week. So you will either be in group A or group B, week 1 or week 2, the even numbers, the odd numbers. This just gives us a couple weeks to practice so we can really hone in on those skills and give all the kids the time they need since our class period is 40 minutes. Presentations is also when they have snack time. So the first 10-15 minutes will be snack time. The second will be presentations. If you have a big group of kids presenting, cut that snack time down a little bit. Regarding that, we do not want kids eating snacks while they're listening. They need to finish their treats at the table and then come on over to have be a good audience member by listening completely and not making noise with water bottles. All that stuff makes noises and is distracting. Side note, it's a no nut policy on campus. That's Trinity's policy. So for kids, if they could refrain from peanut butter and nuts that could make somebody allergic. I don't think we have anybody this year that has an anaphylactic reaction or anything, but we do want to honor Trinity and their requests for no nuts in the classrooms. I think that's it. The last thing that we will say is sometimes it's hard to get all those kids and manage the time, but it is the role of the teacher to make sure that each kid has their 3-minute chunk to present. I guess the questions at the end, the comments, we are wanting positive feedback from kids and questions, not negative feedback. If there is something that you want to just encourage them to think more about the next time, that's your job. It's not going to be the kids' job. So if you start to hear a little comment, oh, you could, speak a little louder, say, okay, remember, we're giving positive feedback, and just redirect that somehow. The questions, it is so common that these kids pop out with, oh, you built that Lego? Well, I have a Lego that's just like this. And then they ramble on. And before they even start their sentence, we can kindly say, oh, remember, we only want questions. How can you make that a question? And just get them in the practice of those really good questions. So make sure if you were A last year and you're going to be the same group with your family. So if you're A, all your kids will be A, but you won't be the same group as last year necessarily. So make sure you're checking that before week 1. Week 1, I believe, is just get to know you. So if your child wants to prepare a few things to say about themselves, that's great. I think that is it for presentations. Okay, so just a couple quick side notes. I want to go over our color leader role. So each week we have the 4 teachers, our history, science, memory work, and presentations. For history and science, they will have an assistant that is coming early to watch their kids on the playground at 8:30, and that is going to be in the classroom to help set anything up. These assistants are there to also, if you have a heavy cutting, that each class is going to need a lot of cutting, while you have one class prepared, so your first rotation prepared, and then while you're presenting the first 20 minutes, have, as the teacher, have your assistants cutting the second class's whatever star out or whatever it is. So just know that you have the opportunity to have them help you, so that you don't, if there's like a lot of stuff to prepare, you can have them help you. So we have those 6 people in the classrooms. Then we have 4 people, each colored leader. So we have our littles are the red group, then blue group is mostly first and second, green group is third and fourth, and yellow group is fifth and sixth. So you will be in charge of that class from the time our morning group starts, which is at 9 o'clock, until the end of the day, once they're on the playground and moms start coming out. So you walk them out to the playground and make sure that they're watched until parents start coming out. You will carry this around. I keep showing it. In it, you will have your class list. You will have their name tags. So all of these name tags you pass out in our morning group. There is a class schedule so that you know where they're first, second, third, and fourth. And the bag is also, if there is science, a worksheet, you can make sure their names are written on all of the worksheets and collect them and then hand them out at the end of the day. We would love to see you guys really take responsibility for making sure all the kids get all of their stuff at the end of the day. So if that means, handing it to them or handing it to their mom, that would be, especially with the younger kids. The bigger kids should be able to deal with it, but the younger kids, that would be really helpful. In the last class, collect all of their name tags. And then the other thing is, this is the responsibility of all of us, but you can also keep an eye on the time and help that history, science, presentation, or memory work teacher go, okay, only 10 minutes left. You can help with the flow just by those little cues and keep an eye on the time yourself. And then the last thing we mentioned, and actually Candace Dirksen brought this up, which I thought was so great, is you could also help in the very last class. Make sure that we're praying before lunch. That's something that sometimes in the fluster of everything we forget, and we want to make sure that we're really just training these kids at praying and thanking God for a wonderful day and also for the food. So you could help with that role and just help remind stuff and the flow. The other thing is your job, a lot of it is just managing sweet little humans. And so if that means tapping them on the shoulder, those kids that you know have a little bit more energy, you could just sit really right behind them and make sure that they feel your breath on their shoulder so that they maybe are a little bit more attentive if there's tapping or anything that way. You can take kids to the restroom and just stand outside the door, making sure they're not alone in the hallway, or the little kids, there's often bathrooms right in the classrooms. So it is kind of your job to oversee kids and manage where they are throughout the day. Again, with discipline, if for some reason there's a child that is not responding to you and you need to get further assistance, feel free to ask their parent or come get them. We are first parents and then teachers, so if we have never had this issue, but if it does get to that point, we can pull in Jamie or Katie and help deal with that with the parent as well. But shouldn't have that problem. We got a bunch of great kids. All right, I think that is it for the role of the leaders. I'm going to talk a little bit about Memory Master. So Memory Master is something that we started last year. COVID kind of messed it up the year before. And it's just a way to get those kids really working on that memory work. Fortunately, because we are able to kind of set our, how we do things, we decided that instead of making it every subject that we can memory master with 3 subjects. Am I saying that right? No, 2 subjects. I'm not positive. 2 or 3 subjects. We will clarify. That way they can master if it's not their thing to do all 7. It's a little less intimidating. I think it's 2 subjects. The other thing we're going to do is we hope that they do more. And if they did, timeline in science last year, they already know timeline. Don't count that as one of their subjects. Push them forward. The idea is growth, right? So with Memory Master for geography, it's show me, tell me. Everything else, it's going to be tell me about the Victorian era, and then they will say it verbatim. And there's also solo scriptura, where if some of those little kiddos, it'd be great for them just to work on memorizing the scripture all year. This year the scripture is very accessible in terms of its length. It's about 1 sentence each week, and it'd be a great idea to encourage that. The 2 or 3 subjects and up is a t-shirt. The 1 subject is not a t-shirt because the t-shirts are expensive. So we're looking for a little bit more that way this year. And I think that is all. We will clarify all of it, and if you have questions, I'm sorry that wasn't super clear. But we will definitely clarify and have it on the website and have a meeting about it when the time comes close. Alrighty.